You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Gulseth. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for your support of The Coffee Hour. You can find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu. Today, joining me in studio, we get to check in with one of our missionaries. These are fun conversations we get to have to hear about the great work being done on various mission fields around the world. And joining me in studio is Jamielynn Tinkey Flores. You have a new last name.
I do.
Which is very exciting.
Sarah. It's great to be here.
So first of all, share with us where you serve and what role you have, and we'll dig into that a little bit because I know you have some pretty exciting things going on.
Yeah, I live and serve in the Dominican Republic alongside the LCMS regional team for Latin America and the Caribbean. That's where we have our head office. So I've been living and serving there for 5 years now. My anniversary of my field deployment is just coming up next week. So celebrating 5 years. And I'm a nurse by vocation, profession, and been serving as a missionary. First as a geo missionary when I deployed in 2017. And I served in missionary care, human care. And then when I transitioned to career, I'm now in front of life ministry in Latin America. And so we're excited about how God's going to work through that for our missions and our partner churches around Latin America.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I want to get to that.
Yeah.
But first, what was that transition like being a geo missionary, transitioning to being a career missionary?
Yeah, a little bit of a leap of faith moment. I went down in 2000. I became a missionary, hired 2016 with a 2-year commitment, and was deployed after support raising in 2017 in January, and 2-year commitment. I'm gonna head back to the U.S. and continue life. I was newly graduated from college. When that 2-year mark started looming, I had some conversations with my regional director, Pastor Cray, and we added a year to that, which GEOs can do sometimes. They can kind of add it because I wasn't quite ready, and I wanted to continue serving, but at that time wasn't ready to kind of commit to. To me, felt like a big commitment to be career missionary with that, not a deadline. You're serving and this is your life, and then as that year quickly passed, because you got to have these conversations 6 months out, prayed a lot about it, spoke with a lot of my missionary coworkers, mentors, people I trust, and I went for it, and here I am. Don't regret it for a second. God's done some really cool things through his people in my life over that time. Because I stayed, I met my husband, Rafael, who came as a student to our seminary in the Dominican Republic. We've been married for over a year now, and are just really thankful that God brought us together, and we're serving him together now. So
yeah, that is really cool. A very awesome story.
Yeah.
So in your training as a nurse, what are some of the things that you would do on the field, just from that perspective of having the background as a nurse with the health information? What kinds of things do you do on the field with that?
Yeah, basically anything and everything that someone is going through, they're like, oh, let's call Jamielynn. And now Terza, we have another nurse on our regional team. And so we get called in. My favorites are when a pastor just sends a WhatsApp message or calls, and I get to go out on a visit with him to a member or a community member who's sick or had an accident or something, and we can just do kind of a co-visit together. That's really, I love those because it's kind of the epitome of what we do in caring for people in body and soul, and we get to be with the pastor and do spiritual care, and then I usually just come in with a few questions and ask what happened, if the family is willing to talk about it, and we sometimes are able to support them in recovery or kind of advocate for them at the healthcare level. Sometimes they just need someone. Sometimes you just need someone to walk alongside you through doctor's visits and things like that. And then on the missionary side, the same thing. A lot of advocating for our missionaries in a variety of medical situations, some emergent and some just, my kids has these symptoms. Do I need to go in? Because I know what the healthcare system's like, and I don't really want to sit and wait for a doctor for a day,
Yeah.
And sometimes advocating this needs to be looked at, or sometimes we can deal with it kind of at home. So
yeah. What is the healthcare system like in the Dominican Republic for the people that live there and for the missionary teams that are serving there?
Yeah. So there is a public healthcare system where your average Dominican can walk in and get care. But the waiting times and wait lists are pretty long. And there's also a private sector where most people who are working a 9-to-5 job have a health insurance. They can access the private health care. But still to that, there's just some, from our U.S. perspective, you call and you make an appointment, and you go in and the doctor's ready to see you. And it's more of a first come, first serve. You get on a list. So then you're waiting for the doctor to get to your name kind of on the list and other things like that. Thankfully, we have access to good medicine and care. But there is a need to advocate from the patient's perspective a little bit more. And so if you aren't really understanding what's happening to you, that's kind of where we come in, is we explain, this is the illness or whatever, and this is what maybe we can advocate for. Here's a few questions you can ask when you go in. Those kind of things help kind of bolster someone up, give them a little bit of confidence to talk, have more of a conversation with the doctor when they're able to see him.
Yeah. What is health education like? I mean, I know what I had to go through in health class in high school, which, may or may not be super helpful, but what kind of level of health education is there with the people that you serve?
At the local school level, it's quite minimal, curriculum wise. But depending on the school, again, there's a private and a public sector. One of our newest members in our mission in Pueblo Nuevo in Santiago, his wife is a PE and health teacher at one of the local Catholic schools. And so I was talking to her a little bit, and I was quite impressed with the amount of information and depth that she goes into with her elementary kids. They're getting a good education in that school. So, but I work also, when we visit maybe adults in the community, we got to kind of go back to basics and talk a little bit about how this body system works. If they're willing to listen to me, I'll talk to them about it. But I try not to push it on them, but ask questions and all that kind of stuff. And then one of the ways that hopefully moving forward, Terza as well this year, I've been able to, in one of our new mission plants, do health education alongside a devotion time as kind of an activity to gather interest and context, so then we can go out and visit them in their homes and that kind of stuff. So sometimes it plays hand in hand. It's all, what Jesus did in his ministry when he was healing people. He wasn't just focused on their body. He also was caring for them, forgiving them, caring for their souls. So we do both too on the mission field. Yeah.
How do you see that playing out? Because you kind of have a foot in both of those arenas. How does that play out then when you're able to do both the body, but the spiritual care and the physical care hand in hand?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the dream job, right? So when I was going through nursing school, I was able to travel with a research team to Nicaragua every year, and we would do pop-up clinics alongside local health professionals. We did a research project in a community about lung health, but I always felt like there was something missing. I'm like, we weren't talking about Jesus. That wasn't really the purpose of why we were there, but it felt like it was missing.
Yeah.
And so that got me interested in kind of the cross-cultural and really, really encouraged me to start learning my Spanish. I really didn't until I got Dominican, but that's another story for another time. I can speak it now. But when the opportunity came that there would be opportunity to do both of those things hand in hand, it's awesome. It's why we're here. And now I'm going through the distance program for the deaconess program at Concordia in Fort Wayne. And it's just kind of deepening that foundation and those roots so I can do that even better. I explained it one time because someone was like, why are you doing the program and why are you studying? And I'm like, well, we have this foundation, I grew up in the church, foundation of faith. learning of the scriptures, and I feel like it's just kind of filling in those gaps so that my foundation's even stronger. And so when the opportunities arise, my tongue is loosened and I'm able to speak those words and share the word of God even quicker now. And, just have that confession of faith even stronger. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. What difference do you see then when you're able to provide the physical care that the people obviously need, but then when you're able to also share the gospel, what difference does that make for those people that you're able to talk with?
It's a lightening of heart, or the hope that the suffering is going to end someday. We can share that we have something even greater than medicine in Jesus, and this life is hard. And I see a lot. I mean, you see a lot of suffering, but there's just hope that it will end, and we have hope in this life too. In these bodies that we were given, we can be thankful for them and use them to God's glory. But being able to invite people to church after meeting them, or sharing the gospel in their homes, on the porch or at the bedside, that brings a hope that and otherwise we couldn't give, right?
Right, exactly, yes. We need to take a quick break, but we will be right back. I have more questions for you, Jamielynn, especially your work going forward with Life Ministry. Very, very interesting to me. So we will be right back. You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Golseth.
You're a miracle. You know that, right? A living, breathing, one-of-a-kind miracle. You were created to stand apart, to share your gifts in the service of others, to make an uncommon impact in a common world. And at Concordia University, it's our mission to help you do that, to live uncommon. To learn more about Concordia, go to cuw.edu.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Golseth. I have missionary Jamielynn Tinkey Flores in studio with me. We're talking about your service in the Dominican Republic, doing all things health ministry and life ministry moving forward, which I'm really excited to talk about. I want to kind of lay the landscape, though. What is the need for life ministry in the Dominican Republic, and also the larger Latin American Caribbean region? Because those are two different things.
Yeah, we're looking initially really, really broad and generally around our region and where the needs are and what the needs are, because they're not the same country to country. And it's really hard to generalize, like, this is the need with a lot of things, because all of our countries are so different in their history and where they are today. We have big countries that are light years ahead of some of our other countries who are still kind of back in that, quote, Catholic culture from maybe 50 years ago. And then we have countries in South America like Uruguay, the most secular country in the Western Hemisphere, Argentina, Brazil. They're way ahead in terms of ideals and culture, heading down the path. They're already down the path. But in Central America, the Caribbean, and the northern parts of South America, we have countries who are literally just now, in the last year, 5 years, and today, facing questions as countries in their legislature about legalizing abortion, about defining marriage, what is marriage. And across the region, the brokenness of families and homes is just widespread and prevalent. And the needs are there. The opportunity, I guess, is there for the Lutheran churches in those places to speak the gospel into those situations, bring the light of Jesus Christ, and bring it to the life arena in those areas to speak up for life. So that's the task in front of us. It's daunting when we look at it like that. So I decided when the conversations were being had, I was transitioning to a career missionary position. We were bringing Terza on as a second nurse, and we were looking to expand some of the health education opportunities, and life got brought to the table. And I was really interested in it. And I was like, what does that mean? Where are we? And so we just started asking questions. I'm still to this day learning and still have churches and pastors to talk to and what are the needs. But we're starting with resources, the gathering of resources. Deaconess Tiffany Manor and LCMS Life Ministry has been vital to this. LCMS Life Ministry is not just national, but they have and they continue to support work on an international level. And so I'm kind of Tiffany's person in Latin America, and we meet on a regular basis because she is collecting the resources too and making the connections as well. And so I'm the person at the table who raises her hand and is like, what about that in Spanish? Or, international stuff. Like, I'm that person that's always just kind of tapping the shoulder of LCMS Life Ministry and saying, we need resources too. We are creating resources. We have a list of resources we're translating. And then the hope is this calendar year, to get some pastors on board, Latino pastors, to begin writing devotions, Bible studies, resources from the Latino perspective, wherever they are in Latin America. I'm looking for people to be writing from their perspective to them and to the churches. So I'm taking it kind of one thing at a time. And when I get overwhelmed by the big area we're serving here, we just take it a step back and focus on one type of resource and one place. And at the end of the day, I hope it'll be a library of resources for our Spanish speakers and practical workshops where people can sit around a table and have conversations about these things. The Latin American Lutheran Church needs to learn how to verbalize what we believe about life. And that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
It's so exciting to hear about all of that work. Very, very important work that you're going to be able to do, which is, it's really great. I mean, yeah, it's a huge project, and the LAC region is gigantic.
Yeah.
And different needs across different areas of the region.
Yeah.
But it is really, really great work. What are some of the resources do you know some of the resources that are currently available? Anything that churches are currently using?
Yeah, so last year we produced a little booklet. It involved 3 devotions and about 5 or 6, maybe 7, don't quote me on that, articles. And the booklet was called Una Vida Abundante, or An Abundant Life, which was based on John 10, where Jesus says, I have come that they may have life and that they have it in abundance. And that booklet kind of became like our theme. And we're calling life ministry in LAC Una Vida Proyecto Vida Abundante, which is Abundant Life Project. So people have something to grab onto. Life ministry translates to Spanish Ministerio de la Vida, and the word ministry and ministerio is most likely around the region connected to government work. So we have a ministry of health, and we have a ministry of this. And that's also not a generalization across Latin America, but the majority. And so that just felt a little governmental.
Yeah.
And we're the church. So we decided to switch it up. It's still life ministry. We're calling it the project, Abundant Life. And it's another avenue for our pastors, our missionaries, our people in the pews around Latin America, the chairs, whatever they're using, to share the gospel in that arena and about those things when the conversations come up, because they're talking about it.
Yeah.
And so as a Lutheran in Latin America, how do I respond in those conversations? And so we're hoping to have practical workshops and little bite-sized things that we can hold on to and read and be able to then speak, give the vocabulary.
Yeah. Just in your experience in the Dominican Republic and the people that you know and the conversations that you've had, what have your experiences been in talking about life issues and seeing what the state of those things are just in the places where you've been?
Yeah. Well, we talk about families a lot. The mission, the team is talking about the brokenness of families, or the struggles of families, and the multiple families, and kind of the disrespect for marriage in general. And now the conversation is looking like around Latin America, our birth rates are also dropping. Families are becoming really small, or people are not having children. And so we're also looking to advocate for life in that arena of, God blesses us with children, and he gives us children, and it's a blessing to be thankful for. I remember, I'll tell this story, when I went with one of their seminary wives was having a baby a few years ago, and I went with her to the OB, kind of as that advocate I talked about before.
Yeah.
And she was looking for an OB to help to deliver the baby, because they had come to the Dominican and she was pregnant. So she didn't have a doctor yet, and we were looking for a doctor quickly because, baby's coming.
Yeah.
And the doctor, the first one we visited, who ended up not being her physician, said, "Oh, this is your second baby, so we'll do a C-section and we'll tie your tubes at the same time, right?" And it's just that well, to me, it wasn't subtle, but to someone else, it might have been that subtle assumption that, like, you don't want any more children, two's the limit.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised. In the Dominican culture, out on the street or in our churches, we don't hear that. But to hear that from a medical professional was a bit shocking. And surprisingly enough, we found a different doctor. And it comes back to also that advocating in the doctor's office, which is why I'm very adamant about it. Health education. I'm very interested in getting a curriculum together, or helping start some women's health education. So people, when you understand what's happening in your body, or how your body works in any illness, you're able to advocate for yourself better.
Oh, yeah.
And so if we can combine that with also Bible studies, devotions about Jesus and the life he brings to us, and the gift of life that we have here on earth until we head home to heaven, I'm really interested in kind of bringing that all together as a package. So
yeah, very important work.
Yeah,
very important things to be able to help people live these lives that we've been given.
Yeah.
So life ministry is a huge thing for you. What's on the horizon for you and your husband? Fourth year seminarian?
Yeah. So my husband, God willing, will graduate this May from our seminary in the Dominican Republic, and God willing and visa permitting, we'll be making a move to serve alongside the Lutheran Church in Chile later this year. I'll continue to do this work at a regional level, just like I do from the Dominican Republic. But instead of then supporting the Dominican church on the ground, we'll be actively supporting the church in Chile. And God willing, he'll complete his vicarage and be ordained as a pastor in the Lutheran Church in Chile. And so we're looking forward to that. We covet prayers for that transition. And he's Venezuelan. I'm from the United States, so our paperwork is always fun.
Oh, yeah.
And so any prayers for clearing paths of paperwork is always coveted from our side.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to it, and trusting God in the transition. It'll be hard to say goodbye to people in the Dominican Republic, but that's really the life of the church, and that's what the gospel does. It brings people together and it sends them out, and we're going to say goodbye and see you again, and head off to serve in the Lutheran Church in Chile.
Yeah, because both of you have been in the DR for what he's been there for 4 years, I suppose.
He's been there for 3.
Okay.
He came in with he studied a little bit in Venezuela. So he came in with some credits. So he got to kind of cut his time down a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we both have created a lot of relationships there and friends, and really enjoyed our time, and it'll be hard to say goodbye.
Yeah.
But we're gonna, move forward in faith. So
yeah. What are you looking forward to in this next chapter that's on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah. One superficial thing is I'm a little excited to have seasons again, even though they'll be opposite from North America, my childhood.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about that. I'm also excited to. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to meet people and get to know. I think I have to learn some new words because they have different slang.
Yep.
But I think this transition will be much different than my transition to the Dominican because I can speak Spanish. So even though I'm not speaking their Spanish, I'll be able to be understood, which was hard.
Yeah.
When you can't be understood. And so, looking forward to seeing what God has in store for us there.
Awesome. Where can people follow your story, follow you on social or any of those platforms if people want to know more about you and learn how to support your work?
Yeah. So the lcms.org/Tinkey is still where our prayer page is. My email is there if you want to find it. I'm available on Facebook and Instagram at Jamielynn Tinkey Flores. On Instagram, it's at Jamielynn Ruth, which is my middle name. And from there, I have kind of a link tree where you can find email and all that, a couple other things. So
awesome. Well, this has been super fun. It went really fast. I love following your work, knowing what you're doing, and lots of prayers for what you're going to be doing still in DR and then in Chile. Wonderful work. Thanks so much for joining me in studio today.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Sarah Gulseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support The Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.